I heard today that Duchamp had entered the idea of sensing. Did they all learn sensing? Would one person care to define their idea of sensing? What is sensing according to you?
Through observation, bringing attention to a specific part of a body,
Mm-hmm.
focusing on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Additional.
Pure awareness.
Awareness. Awareness of what, may I ask?
In order to sense something,
Mm-hmm.
you have to first be aware. Would be my guess. So, in the definition of sensing, I would include awareness.
Okay. Anybody else dare to leap forward?
I would say awareness without analysis. Try not to mediate what you're feeling, what you're sensing.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to remove that filter of the mind.
Okay. And you know we could keep this going all day, perhaps more like all week, because the depth of the idea of sensing is profound. There's no limit to what the idea of sensing means. Very simply said, one could say, I am. I am here. I am. I exist. I am. Let's go deeper into sensing. Would you hold your hand in front of you and look at your hand? Move it ever so slightly. Are sure you feel your hand? Can you just move one finger ever so slightly? One had sensed that finger before one could move it. Move, little finger, and it moves. We can do that with any part of our body. At a very advanced level, we can do that with someone else's body. Before we get to that, the idea of sensing at its most elementary is my attention is here, my mind is here, I can sense the warmth of it, the movement of it. I am making a contact with this hand. Mm-hmm. Can we make a contact with any other part of our body? And we say, of course we can. We can sense the other hand, the back of the hand, the elbow, the shoulder, the breathing mechanism. We can travel throughout this entire body, which in itself is a body of knowledge, and be aware of every part. So one could say, my shoulders feel a little cold. Put a little sweater on. Oh, my leg is tired. Been shopping all day. I'll have to save it for tomorrow. I intend to go shopping again. It's Christmas, you know, please. The senator from somewhere said it's a good idea to go out and spend money. So It's not just my idea. Let's spend it. So we sense this entire body in terms of what it feels tactically, of the input it makes with the weather. In case it's raining, we feel rained upon. Focuses our mind, focuses our body, focuses our spirit. As we focus our attention on sensing, are we touching, thinking, feeling, observing the uttermost part of this skin? Or perhaps are we also touching, feeling, observing what is beyond our skin? That brings us to the idea. When we are sensing, are we going to the limits of our extended self, which would be the skin? Or can we go to a further limit of our extended self? And then the question leaps at us. How far do we extend? A few inches? A few feet? A few yards? A city block? Canada? Are you from Canada, sir? If you are, just a figure of speech. Perhaps Greenland would be just as good. How far does this consciousness called the self, how far does it extend? Some people may say it extends a nation away. Some have said it extends a planet away. That is measurement in one direction. At this point, I wish to talk about measurement in. Can we sense our liver, our spleen, the inner organs, the bone structure, the muscle structure? Can we alter the condition of our body, say for instance the liver or the stomach? Can we alter that by sensing that particular organ the same way we do with our hand? Many people say we can, and probably just as many say we can't. That's the beauty of being in this room and thinking in an atmosphere, in an environment where we know that everyone is cared for. In this room, everyone is welcome to think about things in their own area. Believe what you care to believe, because nothing that I know of is either true or untrue. Believe what you will. Believe in what you will. It's been said that no one can heal themselves. Someone heals us, but that takes a little bit of thought. Do they heal us? Or do we heal ourselves? Or do we come to the same wavelength that they are at and exchange energies so that the input of that energy in combination with our own energy helps a transformation to occur? Isn't it wonderful not to know for sure? That's freedom. My favorite sign or my favorite painting is the yin and yang. There is no ending. There is no beginning. And if we transpose that to go from the symbolic, from the iconic into an inner reality, there is no end, there is no beginning, there is no truth without a little untruth. There is no leaving without a little staying. And as we enter this warmth of this existence, it gives us the freedom that there is nothing that's actually definite, terminal. No. It's always that and its opposite. That and its opposite. The positive exists and the negative exists within the same cycle. And it's important for us to put that word in here today because we will be talking about many circles. I had used the idea of this being like a Christmas party, and everyone here is a gift. That's the wonderful thing I find about Christmas gifts. There's the tree, and there are lots of boxes, wrappings, pieces of silver. And you touch one, you open one, you undo it, and they are not in an order. They are free. Take any one you like and look at it. Ooh, what's that? What's that? I can't help it, nor do I wish to. But that's the way I think all the time. A million ideas are always flying around my mind. I pick out one, I pick out another, I throw it this way, I throw it that way, and that's what I said. Don't ask me tomorrow. So we have said, or I guess I've said and nobody stopped me, There is no thing as completely true. Nothing is completely untrue. Nothing is tall and nothing is short. Everything is this compromise of itself and its opposite. Can people out here live with that?
Yes.
Is there anybody who can't? Did you say, sir? You're just clearing your throat. You feel better now. Thank you. What's your name?
Peter.
Peter, hello. I'm Gil. I'm Gil Barretto, if anybody didn't see the posters. So there's no such thing as the real, honest to goodness TV drama, The Truth. I would say that to liberate a mind means to be able to carry that idea in everything and with everything. What she said was true, I hope, but maybe it wasn't so true. This or that. We must, to be free, I believe, enter a world of gray and compromise and nothing being written in stone. Hard to write in stone. We live in this world then where nothing is for sure. I wasn't a bad boy. I was kind of a bad boy. I wasn't totally disobedient. For a while, I made believe. Dear people, with what we have just said, that is more freedom than most of the world feels they are allowed to have. You are free that things may be, things may not be. Nothing is definite, nothing is in stone. And everything we see contains its own opposite. One could even see me as a good citizen. I don't know. Possible. Which brings us to another place. We said when we sense ourselves and we're fixing ourselves and healing and doing all this, here's a very important point, I think. We are given and receiving information at all times, around the clock. Some information we say that, no, I don't agree with that, that's not for me, well, no. And you know what, if that's the way you feel, it probably isn't. And if you feel that something is, yes, I can go along with that, yes, that makes sense, it probably is. Couldn't it be the same thing? Of course. The time for us to intake something is neither here nor there. at a certain period of time, under a certain condition, however it happens at that moment. If you say 2 and 2 is 5, for you, 2 and 2 is 5. It will work to your advantage. You can use it. It's a tool for you. And if you say that isn't so for me, then for you it will not be a tool. It will not be useful. It is not something you can use. So we cannot have the fear of, if I say that's not for me and everyone else says it is, can it be that it is for them? For them it is really true, but for me it is not. Will it be tomorrow? Maybe. Will it be the opposite for them tomorrow? Maybe. You will hear in this room, in other rooms, in many literatures, wherever you go, you will hear tons and tons and tons of information. Not all of it is right for you at any particular instant. May become right the next day, or the next month, or the next year, or never. We have that mind that says, this is not for me. And we must respect that part of mind, no matter what others around us may influence too. If you say it's not for you, probably isn't. It's a wise choice. While those ideas are kicking around, I'm going to move the sensing exercise a little further down the line. It makes sense to think sitting still or moving normally and thinking that our bodies are absorbing energy from others, absorbing energy from the places we are, the bricks in the rooms, the wood in the rooms, the floors, the building. All these things are alive in their own definition of alive, and they are pouring forth energy. I think of sensing as receiving these energies, all of them, simply receiving, and avoiding capture with the eye of one item, be it a camera or being a pair of shoes or whatever, or a fan. So I'm speaking about keeping the eyes open and simply seeing everything that's before. Person just moved their hand, person is moving their clothing somehow, something over there moved. It's moving up and down, I think. What am I looking at? Nothing in particular. What am I seeing? A momentary snapshot of the gestalt of the instant. That means that the eye is not zeroing, focusing, using energy to focus. Yes, it's such and such a time, the eye is geared, focused towards that. Takes energy to gear the eye. What am I seeing? Everything. everything that's here. That alters the sensing. It alters the sensing of the body, and it admits the sensing of a part of the brain as we were thinking in terms of sensing the liver. Is anybody trying that idea at this moment? Please add to statement.
I'm seeing in this manner. I imagine that I am seeing from the back of my head rather from my eyes, and that my vision extends into different types of detail, finite detail. And that everything is comprised of energy. Nothing is any longer of solid matter.
Thank you when you said, and everything you said, when you said you make this or that. The other day, my friend walked down the street and said, "This is a beautiful block. I'd like to live here." Next day, another person said, "No, I don't want to live there." This takes us bounding back to Albert Camus, L'étrangère. Those wonderful existentialists who sat in Greenwich Village in 1940-something and drank endless cups of coffee and decided that there was no real world, it's only the world you make it. For you, that's a beautiful dog. For you, seen one much, you've seen more. We make the world. That's what Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre were saying. We see the elements of structure and we judge them. Do we like them? Are they beautiful? Are they this or they that? Oh, she's a lovely person. I don't know. She shot her husband last week, but I guess. We define a world to ourselves. Now, let's take the word define one step further. As we define the moments in our life, let's make absolutely certain that we give them all a positive definition so they can be a working tool. Define the instances in your life. We can say, "Oh, I had a lousy day yesterday." Makes the experience negative, makes it not such a worthwhile tool. In your words, because your mind will not put up with your lying to yourself most of the time. It was a day where I learned this. A day where I saw that, a day where I had this kind of offering, a day that had promise, that puts the entire organism into a different timeline. Can we define so much of the world that we see around us so it becomes palpable, malleable, usable, careable, so that it comes to our bodies and we stroke our mind and heart with our definitions of the moments in our life. So many times we read that we should love ourselves, but very few of us have had self-love lessons. Very hard to learn how to do that all by yourself. Feeding yourself good food, good memory, good definitions, good pictures, good feelings is eating good food. Good food makes good muscle, makes sharp eyes. So if nothing else, this is the toy you unwrapped. Take it with you and keep it near your heart. To look at each moment and define it in a way that's positive and beautiful and useful to you. I think you can go through miles of living with that idea. Take the moment. That action reminded me of two things. With the circles that we're speaking of, that I spoke of, no one else spoke about it because we didn't get that far. Madame de Salzmann, Mr. Gurdjieff's right hand till the day he died. And she lived on about another 40-something years. She had once mentioned, almost in passing it seemed, that everything begins with the feet. I don't know if she studied, what she studied, Kung Fu, Tai Chi somewhere. Most of these doctrines will agree. I've worked with it, I experience it. Everything begins with the foot. And the head is just floating around. The head is part of a circle that includes the foot. The arms aren't just sticks going in that direction and that direction. They join. And the invisible part here, but is part of the circle. When one moves, the other moves. The palm of the hand isn't like that. Somewhat rounded. The foot must be somewhat rounded. Sometimes I've seen people who are professional dancers and ballet people, study since they're 3, and say, oh yes, and when they do that, their whole body goes in, it's a beautiful line. Has anybody noticed that? It's, yes, hello, it's a beautiful line. Most of us, including me, stick your hand out, yeah. It's like suddenly there's a pole jumps in that direction, this foot goes there and it's all not connected. And if it doesn't really watch itself, it's going to stand up and fall all over the floor. Arm, leg, head, and somebody's got to clean up that and stick it together with the Elmer's glue. It's all a circle. That makes sense. Now, is time a circle as well? If this event is happening here in the circle, and another event has happened here, but it's the same circle, depends which one is in front. For instance, I say, And someone else says too, of course. Once I was a 12-year-old girl. My past, and I think of her fondly, I think of her lovingly. Every once in a while I think of her again. But now I'm 39 and she's gone. And I say, think a moment with me, if you may. Your permission. That circle has merely moved because that little girl that was 12 is always here. With the girl that is 39, with the girl who will one day be 69 or 89. Time, as I see it, is parallel. It is ongoing, a circular motion which repeats and does not repeat this way, repeats this way. They are all there, like a slinky toy kind of. The entire past, the entire future is there within the heart of one person. I hope that's not a critical. It's always ongoing. There is no then as opposed to now, and the two don't meet. It's all happening at this instant. At this instant, in this part of time, the 12-year-old is playing with a bicycle or playing with a wheel, and now it's an adult playing with something else, or playing golf, or on a sailboat, or what have you. If I beg you to think along those lines with one circle of time for one person, can all time as we know it be in these ongoing circles, like the circle for the hands, which turns and meets the circle for the head and the shoulders and the movement here? Is that what time is? Your gift, your toy, you think. Does it make you feel good to imagine that that's the way time is? Yes? Yeah. I think you like yourself more when you think in those terms. It seems you like yourself more. Thank you. Because it means that for none of us is something gone. Irretrievable. It's there. There is a lot I can learn. At this moment, I have a lot of use for an 11-year-old boy who ran around the Bronx and jumped on the back of a trolley for free. Should we call the police?
They're actually actors.
They're actually actors. Whenever you get a chance to shoot an actor, take it. There's always more of them. There are millions of them. Everywhere you look is another actor.
It's funny, each year you come here, they do that, same exercise. I don't know what the deal is.
They're not going to have me back again, I can tell. I can sense this body, I can think in terms of this body. I often ask myself, what happens when this body gives out? Stop moving. All the little parts go there, because I didn't take ballet lessons. What happens to us when we stop inhabiting this body? What do you think? Unless there's somebody behind you that looks like you. No, it's you. Hello. Hi there. Good to see you.
I think that the body is transformed, and that what is connected with it, the spirit,
Mm-hmm.
is also transformed and stays in some other form that I don't know. It would probably be unrecognizable to me now.
It wouldn't look like you.
No.
Mhm. But
Not
it'll
in-
be
not in-
something that goes on. The whole thing isn't going to a dumpster, is it?
Right. I believe that. I don't know. I can't confirm it either way, but that's what I believe.
Okay. Does anybody else go along with that idea that there's something that goes on somewhere?
Yeah, what would be the point of all this practice if there wasn't a chance to become conscious to that which went on?
Mr. Gurdjieff had said that the purpose of our work combined with remember he died over 100 years ago, is that something that we speak of, the spirit, the soul, el alma, the interior, has a possibility of remaining conscious after the body has given up the ghost. Now we start to get into very, very fine lines. Some people believe that there's a spirit, a soul, something that goes onward. The body goes away. Some people believe that it's possible for the soul or the spirit to maintain a consciousness of what this life was like. Others, the spirit may go onward, but it returns to somewhere, does this or that. And all these are areas of freedom where anyone can pick whatever they choose to believe, and it is perfectly all right with everyone, or should be, or could be. You know, if that were a more widely accepted attitude, I think there would be a lot less wars, a lot less anger. Believe whatever you will. And at the depth of yourself, believe that you can change your mind and believe something else at any point. It's not a forever decision. In some backgrounds, my own quite nominally, someone dies, their spirit stays it proceeds to some sort of heaven or destination, but it also may stay here on earth, right near you, for I don't know how long a period of time. Imagine, if you will, that someone passes on and their spirit, invisible of course, remains with you, with me, around us, here. Does that spirit have the possibility of emotional feeling? Many years ago, I was a substance abuse counselor, and a middle-aged man was on my cases, and we conferred as we did on a regular basis. And it was apparent that he had been in approximately 20 or more rehabs. He was a heroin addict. No amount of psychotherapy had had any good results. No amount of rehab, this. He was generally let out of the rehab at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 5 in the afternoon, he was in trouble again. It occurred to me, I don't know why or from where. I said to him, "Are you aware that your mother, who is deceased, sees your every action and suffers for what you are continuing to do to yourself?" He said he had never thought of it that way. But having received that knowledge, to the best of my knowledge, he stopped his addictions as of that moment. And the last I heard of him, he was on the way to a permanent recovery. He had altered his behaviors. Many people in this world accept that as a given. Many people think it's nonsense, and all have the right, of course, to examine. Is it possible that a certain amount of people sitting here right now can make contact with the deceased or departed? Possible? Some may say yes, some will say impossible. Yet we're attempting to understand here what the fourth way means in terms of today. Mr. Gurdjieff died in 1949. That was something like 60 years ago. Ideas have continued. I represent thought that has gone onwards, not intending to remain an interpreter of a certain kind of work, but to add to it whatever my mind came. The things that I say to you today are not part of a tradition. They're just what's on my mind this year or this month or today. The biggest offering I can give you is to ask you to remember that you are always free to believe what you will, and you are free to change your mind. As you get in more information, as life changes, as you yourself change, as you transform doing the work that you're doing, which is transformational. You're not within these rooms to be the same as you were 2 years ago. You're constantly seeking to change. In the meantime, one of the beauties of an exchange is that one person absorbs another, absorbs part of a person, and part of the other person absorbs the other. So that between 2 or 3 or 4 or 400, they take the form of that yin-yang symbol. Know that I have altered. Since I'm here, I feel it. We all alter. Hello, sir. How do you do? It is good to see you.
Thank you.
We've really gone around the turnpike a bit. Today I feel very sad. I don't know, today I'm kind of annoyed. I'm not in a good mood. Martha, tell that dog to stop barking. I don't know, kind of hesitant. Friday night, as we left the office, the boss looked at me, and I could read it in his eyes. We can do better without him. I think I'm better than anyone here. You got that straight? And of course, any knowledgeable person will say, yes, that person has a lot of ideas. A lot of ideas. Ideas. He thinks he's great. He thinks he stinks. But ideas. He's probably crazy on top of it. Ideas. And then somebody comes along with a pinstripe suit and a tie and a pad. You're lying there. And how do you feel today? You have an idea that I see. Mm-hmm. How long have you been thinking that? 10 years. And so forth. Mm-hmm. Our time is up today, but you'll be back tomorrow at 1:30. I got a kid in Harvard. Come on. And then you read here, you read there. These are thoughts you give yourself. These are thoughts that somebody talks you into. These are thoughts you read. I gotta ante the game a little bit. I propose that the dear departed in our lives, or in lives close to us, or past lives, God, I said it. Did you make me say it, past lives?
Might have.
Departed beings or spirits, or whatever word we use, in some quarters are reputed to have the ability to install thoughts in the minds of the living. And also have the capacity to persuade these people to do certain things. So in many nations of the world, somebody doesn't jump up and say, I feel nuts today. I am feeling possessed today. Neighbor accepts that. That's the way you are when you're kind of off your feed, possessed. This is not just a barroom idea. This is a belief system held by thousands and thousands of people in this world. Many thousands for many, many years. Ralph has died. He's gone and done. His spirit still stays filled with the angers that he had when he was alive, the jealousies he had, the same set. And he finds a mind that he can interject to and live out or continue living out his patterns. Some believe that to be absolutely true, and some believe that to be absolutely hogwash. But it is not just 100 people or 1,000 people that believe that. It is multitudes of hundreds of thousands. It is the main belief system, the main belief system in numerous nations of the world. I am not saying believe or don't believe. Merely, here's another present. Add that to your thinking. Is it possible? Well, anything is possible, they say. Is it probable? I don't know. What matters is what you believe. What matters is your freedom given to you by you, your freedom to believe what you will. Are there other entities that are not person who lived a year ago or 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago in Hoboken or some other place? Are there entities that can be in touch with you as a living being who are from a different set of rings, a different set of time, a different set of living creature? Are there aliens? Some people say they've been aboard with aliens for years. Some people say only weeks. Some people say they have big eyes. Some people say they have long noses. Who knows? But it's possible. You are the product of all you've heard, all you've seen, all you've read, and all you've been taught. I don't believe that what I've said here today is the first time you've heard this. Might be a 20th, I don't know. The other day with my physical therapist, I came upon the idea that I've been thinking about it for ages and ages. Finally, I found somebody with a diploma in physical therapy who has to listen to me. So. I said, by the way, we're almost finished. Do you have another minute? Look, when I walk, I have this or that. I've been thinking that nobody, no one, never, nada, nunca, no one ever taught me how to walk. Did anybody teach you how to walk? No. Did anybody teach you? You? No. You? Yeah. Can you walk?
Yes.
You can. You think so. Nobody teaches a kid how to walk. The kid's lying around. One day he gets up somehow and he's up on his body and he's standing, he's almost there. No, don't let him fall down, push him back up again. Finally, after the kid walks across the room and he's over on the other side, the kid walked today. Right to grandpa, the kid is walking. Who ever taught the kid how to walk? Nobody. The rest of his life, he walked like this. Because nobody ever taught you how to walk. Should you put your foot directly in front, flat on the heel, upwards of the heel, up? Nobody knows how. Nobody teaches you how to walk. They teach you how to think, by example, by books, by conversations. It is up to you, as you pursue your inner development, to find what it is that you can live with, that you wish to live with, as a living being, as you become. You also develop a part of yourself that should be listened to. And of course, very few people are taught, listen to the inner self. Do what your mother tells you. Do what the teacher tells you. If I have to go to school one more day because of you, very few times in your life you hear, do and think that which makes your heart sing. And you say, that's a good idea. I can live with that. Or, I've got to change my mind. That isn't working for me. That's the most powerful piece of freedom you can have in your entire life. To think for yourself. To be free enough to love what you love and stand back from what you feel is not for you. Because in the end, Carlos Castaneda has said, we take the path that has a heart. And in many other literatures, you see that the head is not where the thinking goes on. The thinking goes on in the heart. When something seems to you to be right. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's right for you. If you don't feel that way, it isn't all that right for you. How do? Yeah. That doesn't mean muscle. That's not Arnold. It means musician talk. Take it out means when you get the nearest ending, take the road off the road. Stop playing. The fish is coming out. The caterer is going to go berserk if his fish is lying there and the band is still playing. Right, Sue? That's Sue Terry. She's a great saxophone player, a great jazz saxophone player. Holy smoke, is she a saxophone player. Top notch. I'm her band boy. Carry on. Let me hear something from out there.
I have a question.
Yes.
In my own life, I just completed a big cycle, at least symbolically. Went through something I promised I would do. It took years. I did it. And then there was an event last night to say, this is the ceremony that says you did that thing. Go home. So, many of the things I've been studying have come from a whole nother hemisphere of the world. Foreign ideas. Part of my attraction to exploring them is their foreignness. And then I come to a point where I'm like, is this for me? Is this the right thing for me still? I've spent so much time investing, studying, and practicing. I could have been doing other things I didn't do without any regrets. So within what you're saying about the freedom to choose and going to the place where we're resonating, that this is for me the right place, would you speak about discipline, where along the way, it's just like there's no way to become a world-class musician without practicing discipline. And we need teachers sometimes to say, no, you're not done being disciplined about this lesson. You're tired, but I want you to go another 10 minutes. Can you speak about the relationship of when exhaustion comes or a lack of vision is there and wanting to go, oh, well, maybe this isn't for me anymore. But perhaps we were almost to this place of a breakthrough if we had a little more perseverance. Can you speak to that?
Makes sense. We have an idea when we're 17, 18. We want to be firemen or cowboys or something. We'll go ahead with that. At some point in our life, we say, no, that isn't really right. I want to do this. At some point, we come to here. I really, really, really want to do this. But like he said, you got to practice and do work and things like that. I don't know. Not if you have to work for it. The way I see it, when I was 19, 20, 21, I didn't like to practice the saxophone. 20 minutes, 10 minutes, skip my lesson. Didn't happen. When she practices every single day. Hours. And she loves it. Because the difficulty that he's talking about, and I was on the verge of mentioning, is that you have to love the practice of it. You go to a teacher and he tells you, no, that sounds awful. Great. What do you think sounds better? This and this and this sounds better. And you go home, wow, hey, I want to do this. Yeah, I really feel it getting better. Holy smoke. If that part isn't there, it's reevaluation. That's the joy of digging the ditch that takes you to the other side of the road. It's got to be joy. If it isn't joy and it's work, it's really got to be looked at. Maybe you have to go through plain work for a week or two. But when the week or two becomes longer and longer and you're really doubting, are you on the right path? Time to really look again. Because it's the road. That's the pleasure. Getting to the end is, trip is over. Pleasure is the good time. Yeah, good. Somebody more. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The boss spoke. Those people were only kids.
Can you explain more about your thoughts on time? You said you used a definition. One was vertical and the other was horizontal.
Did I say vertical and horizontal?
No, you demonstrated that.
Uh-huh. Let's say there's a ring of time around me, okay? Like a hula hoop. Things have happened here, they are in that position. Things have happened here, they're in that position. As there's a turn in emotion or time or physics, different items on that wheel come into focus. That wheel is not disconnected. That wheel is part of another wheel and another wheel, like a slinky toy. It's all together. This wheel doesn't end here, it goes on further. What I'm seeing is this section of time that is appealing and is used by this particular mentality. That doesn't mean I'll have the same mentality next year. Is there another life concurrently going with this one? That's the subject of another meeting.
Well, you said you did have to up the ante for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd be a great time to do so.
We just did so. We'll do some more. These times can be seen as circular. When one hand moves, they both move. The body moves. Time is not a stick that goes out this way because that's a dividing line. The time is always connected to other time. Can there be two parallel universes, which have gotten some play lately? Parallel universes where you are doing this in this universe today, but at the same time you're doing something else in another universe. Make sense? To expand that, can we say today I feel like golfing, I love golf. In another universe, he doesn't like golf. Do these universes blend where what is happening in one universe is happening in a different manner from another? Like I'm leading 2 or 3 or more lives, and they're all going along. Different things are happening, and different guilds are having different attitudes towards it. Does that in any way explain, I like this today, and later on today, I don't like it? Surely, it's not that there's 2 minds going. This intelligence, this being is capable of crossing time between 2 parallel worlds. In one world, this is acceptable, this is valued. In the other world, this is not acceptable, it's not valued. Which is it? There is no difference because each individual is his own series of parallel universes. Is that shirt really from the East Coast? You didn't swipe it. you're from California, and you came up here, you swiped the shirt that said East Coast. Just My name is Gil. What's yours?
Oh, my name is Chris Cady. Nice to meet you. Again, I've been here a couple of years. I've seen you before here.
Yes, that's why I recognize your shirt. I mean, recognize your Thank you.
Welcome.
And it seems that I've heard that name again since. Katie?
Mhm.
Have you been busted for anything lately?
Just our friends.
More, yes, Paul.
Thank you, Gil. Yes, what struck me was when you said, I question this a lot. For example, ancestry, I only knew my grandfather, not his father or wherever before. And about the communication, I was kind of like the fellow you said in the story once about the in addiction.
Mhm.
And it's always interests me when one's in that sort of situation, what are your thoughts? What are not your thoughts? So if it's from someone else. And I feel I understand in that state and condition, you're open to external things. What sort of level or what sort of condition is usually one at where they don't encounter foreign voices, as it were, from whether it's from an ancestor or someone who else is here who's passed or not. Is there certain people who don't have that, or you do have that? Does that make any sense?
I'm missing chunks. Are you saying a place where this happens or does not happen?
I guess I'm asking both. For example, you as an individual, have you experienced that, and do you experience it now?
Yes, I have always experienced it.
Okay. So are there some people that are just blocked off to the understanding and experience of that?
Mhm. There are people who understand this because it's part of the culture. Your parents or your uncles and aunts, they have this culture and you grasp it like you learn to speak English. Some people have an idea, they say, gee, that doesn't sound like me. What the hell am I kidding? Or somebody may say, that can't be your brother. Your brother doesn't think like that. There are no limit to the capacities of this concept that one mind, living or deceased, can influence another without the first one, without the person who's being influenced aware that anything is entering his own mind. He thinks the ideas are his own.
And at one point, what's the voluntary point? If you are conscious of that, if you have the ability to understand that,
Mm-hmm.
can you be somewhat of a gatekeeper to have the influences come in and out? Or?
Yes, you can be. You have an influence because in the final analysis, you are a free being who has the capacity to understand. I recognize that that voice, that call, that influence is not my own. I wish not to have part of it. And then it becomes exceedingly difficult to do yourself. But you can enlist the help of others who can and are experienced in this kind of work.
Excuse me, who would those people be?
They're loosely called mediums, loosely called people who have the capacity to communicate with the deceased.
Thank you.
They do exist, and they do exist plenty in New York, and even more so in the Bronx. I know the Bronx. You were saying?
Me.
Yes.
Well, I understand from you, in previous conversations we've had, that the individual who is open to that kind of awareness to voices of their guides, perhaps the deceased, over time and with interest and with development of that sensitivity, with practice, if you're not into music, you can kind of divine a way to understand what is your voice, what is another voice,
Easily enough.
and develop that communication.
You can develop that communication for you, I believe. Mind you, again, there are no proofs on this. You can believe, no, that's not my own inner heart or my own voice speaking. Fairly doable. To stop that influence or to go against that influence is very, very difficult. Because that, in a sense, can be accepted somewhat, measured, reflected, that is an addiction. This other voice has taken part of your mind over, and it wants something, and it can't be told no. It can be told no, but it doesn't listen. It's like when something in you says, I want another glass of wine, I got a glass of wine, I got to. You say, gee, I wish I could stop that. But you find that it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to stop it.
So the key would be to not be being held captive to anything that might seek to enter you.
It sounds good on paper. The solution is not to be held captive, but you don't know that you are being held captive until the evidence is overwhelming that you are a captive. And we hear this story so many times in literatures. The golden boy, he wanted to fight, and he also wanted to be a violinist. Yes?
It's an uncanny example.
Excuse me?
It's an uncanny example.
Uncanny example.
Uncanny.
Well, this is an uncanny place. What do you want? Where else should uncanny things go on? At the local delicatessen? So what do you think, having been here, striped out as you are?
About the entity?
About anything.
I'm not sure about the thought possession, but I'm sure that there are entities that feed off one's energy. If that person is susceptible, if that person is under a lot of stress, it kind of opens that gate to other beings and other realms to come in and feed off the energy.
That's why so many people are tired. It isn't that you're tired, your energy is being eaten up. That's quite a bit of advanced thinking.
How does cultivating attention and sensing help to create the, I like your idea of being the gatekeeper. Do these two ideas dovetail together? That if we're leaking distracted energy and there's something that I can't see that feeds on it, and I deny it its food through these practices of beginning to understand how to gain attentional stability and using what is in the present moment, which is what I'm sensing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a relationship there?
Yes. The harder you work, the more you can master your mind and master your heart and master your vibrations, the more of a chance you have. Definitely. What we're both saying is that this isn't just to sense yourself, to meditate. We're going past that. Can you use the sensing to heal yourself, cure yourself, free yourself from other influences? Yes, I believe so. And so we're seeing that the more we work, the more doors open before us, that we can see that there are more and more and more uses and purposes to what we have. And 2 years from now, you'll be saying even more so. Because as things get revealed, we find what's behind the next barrier. What's the next idea? Because it's also said to be true that there will forever be the battle between good and evil, the battle between day and night, the battle between the opposites. And as soon as you get to one opposite, another opposite comes in. Life's work. Free from having to work? Never. If this is your entity and you have undergone responsibility for the life of this entity, you are responsible for what happens to this entity. The work never stops. Sir?
The idea of channeling thoughts or influences of other entities is very close to me. I'm going to give you an example. I might sit with another person and I sense myself in order to connect with the other person. And I answer their questions without prior meditation, without prior intentions. It just comes. And I end up wondering afterwards, gee, how did I know this? This is not the way I usually speak. This is not the way I usually these are not the words I use. So it can be on a positive side too. It doesn't have to be attracting only demons and entities who feed off my energy. It could, depending on my intention and motivation, I can attract entities who help others through me.
And as we say earlier, define the events in your life so that they come out nourishing for you. Of course, you're talking to someone. One, you can define it or think of it. I don't like definitions. You can think of it in terms that the entity that is you is in contact with their guardian angel, so to speak. That you have a connection with this person that frees your guiding spirit to say the appropriate thing or feel the appropriate thing. But it's always, you are in the service of another person to do them well, and by your giving them, they give to you. Or else your energy would be blown out in a half hour's work or something. Sir?
Do you have any logical explanation for the concept of a guiding spirit?
No logical explanation, no. Makes sense to me, but I wouldn't call it logical if I could possibly avoid it. No. But tell me more.
Oh, that's just a concept that you brought up right now, in a sense, an hour and 42 minutes into the talk.
Who's watching the clock?
No, but I'm just facing. But now that we've opened the door to a potential guiding spirit, perhaps you could talk about
Are you wondering if you have a guiding spirit?
it. Well, if any of us were to, perhaps we should know how to treat it. I'm sure that-
Kindly and respectfully. There are beings for whom, boy, send out for pizza or something. The story may go that here are these beings, undressed as they were, looking very beingish, and they decide, or one of them decides, that it needs to further its education, its knowledge, its advancement. Can I go to Earth? All right, go ahead. Give it a spin. Comes down, picks the parents of choice, the time of choice, the atmosphere of choice, the home, the country, etc., etc. Comes to Earth to learn something, to acquire something. And we always ask ourselves, what am I doing? What's my purpose here on Earth? You come to learn something in terms of your being, learning how to be a bad actor or thank you. That's the ghost of all bad actors. We've come here to learn something, to be of value in this incarnation. We didn't even get to reincarnations yet this time. Talk to the boss, I'm free in about 6 weeks. We have the capacity to enjoy the company of other beings who have taken it upon themselves to be your guardian. Or you may have done something for another being in this life, present life, or as we said, future life, and another being wishes to help you. Another being loves your being, and on its time will help you as much as it can. You are not alone. Important concept to think of. And at any time anyone feels alone, you can speak to the world in general. Messengers of God, help me to rid myself of my angers, or my pains, or my fears. A message like that goes through all eternity, and eventually somewhere, some being will pick it up and come to your help. Because life is such that we are created never to feel the pang of inner loneliness. So I say to you, you will never be alone. Yes.
Just call and you will be heard.
Yes. Well, I think that's it. Any further, but one room for one more person to make a desperate attempt at fame. Yes. Well, two of them, I like the guy with the tie. They both have ties, yeah, but he's wearing a striped shirt and the striped tie. Did you do that from an old beach awning? Tell me, how could I know?
In the beginning, you were talking about things being not quite all one way or quite the other way, not quite good, not quite bad. And I related to what you were talking about. But then I was also thinking about our ideas of morality, and we do seem to believe that killing is bad every time, stealing is bad every time. And that it's important to have discipline and to be moral. So,
Depends who you are under the circumstances, then is it moral or not? And that is, every condition is different. There are times when it's essential to take a life to save the life of yourself, your family, or something like that. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
yeah, we've been taught that the intention, if you do something like that, is good. Like the Buddha took a life in order to save 500 people. But they also say the killing, or at least, we've been taught that the killing was wrong, and he actually went to hell for it. But his intention was so good that he just left hell right away. So that it was those are two different actions, but the killing was still wrong, and wrong all the time.
That's what makes it so marvelous to be born and to be free of spirit, that you must make your choice. And it's possible you may not always be what you consider right. Bless everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have good holidays, have good cheer. Love that which is within you, and love that which is outside of yourself. And when you see, get a picture, because that picture may have to last you forever.